1 month is over. I think you are geared up for now becoming management entrepreneurs as well as management udyamis, that we can say. See, every year you have seen budget is presented by both central government and all state governments, right? Then in all newspapers you can see, in all TVs also there is a always hot discussion on the topic budget. Then we talk about what GDP, fiscal deficit, current account deficit, primary deficit, FDI, FII, lot of terminologies, right? But unless you know the terminologies, how can you understand the budget? Correct, no? Bernard Shaw told in some tasks for education, everybody seems to know X, Y, Z of everything, but nobody knows ABC of anything. I have not told this, sir. Bernard Shaw. Okay. So unless we know ABC, how can you understand X, Y, Z? Correct, no? So in order to understand what is the quality of the budget presented, because normally what happens, ruling party members, they always welcome the budget, whereas opposition party members, they always oppose the budget, stating that it is useless, rubbish, nothing is there, we are going for a debt trap, our country is not doing anything, this government is useless, like that, correct? Then the role of economists, non-biased people, they will explain or analyze the budget. But the problem is, in newspaper, who said what? Except an economist, all other people what they said what that they are going to publish. You are reading the same thing. So, but there are some newspapers, they analyze the budget. There are some channels, they analyze the budget in threadbare, which you are supposed to see. How many of you are seeing CNBC channel? CNBC TV 18. You are all management students, correct now? Every day, minimum 2 hours you should see CNBC channel. TV ನೋಡಬೇಡಿ, ಖಾಲಿ ಓದಿ ಪುಸ್ತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀರಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ತೆಗೀರಿ, ಅದು ಹೋಯ್ತು ಕಾಲ. Every day 2 hours analysis. You can see whether it is stock market, whether it is different things. Even Sunday lot of topics are coming. Saturday morning also there is a show. Then evening again there is a re-telecast. Then there are other Z business is there. That also you can see. And you should read. How many of you have the habit of reading newspaper? Madam, very dangerous. Which newspaper that you are familiar now? ಸತ್ಯ ಹೇಳಿ, ಏನು ಬೇಜಾರಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವುದು? ಉದಯವಾಣಿ. ಯಾರು ಸತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯಾರು ಬದಲಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅಲ್ಲ, ಉದಯವಾಣಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳ್ಳೊಳ್ಳೆ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಕುಗ್ರಾಮ, ಇದು ಕೆಲವು ರಸ್ತೆ ಹೊಂಡ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ನೀವು? So you should read at least 2 English newspaper, one Udayavani or Vijayavani, Vijayavani, one vernacular, that is Kannada, and 2 newspaper. In that one is Business Line or Economic Times or Financial Express. All these newspapers you should read. See, I am telling you from now itself. After another 2-3 months, madam will again call me. Then I will again appraise your capabilities. Okay. Correct now? After 2-3 months again we will appraise you. Now you are amateur. We will come to know how you are serious about your courses. Just in your parents, they will invest lot of money on you. They have invested. but you should make use of this golden opportunity. Not only you have excellent teachers here, they also arrange experts to deliver lot of topics. So you should take note of that. Madam, tomorrow what you have to do now? Tomorrow or day after this week, budget terminologies on competition and assessment. Internal assessment you have. In that you have to give marks. So they should make note of that and this. How many of you are now writing pad and pen? How serious you are, I can make. Only one person. Others don't have writing pad. Okay. How many of you have pen along with writing pad? See, this is the least problem. See, you should be always ready. You should have writing pad and pen wherever you go. I have the habit. Whenever anybody speaks anything, I note down good things. Your thinking should be Ano Bhadraha Kratavo Yantu Vishwataha. That means let all noble thoughts come from all sides. Okay. So you are a good listener then. You don't waste time in writing. Correct? Now if you write once, it is as good as reading 10 times. Okay. So let me not speak about general terminology now. Let us go to budget terminology. What is budget? Whether budget, presentation of a budget is a must every year. Why it should be presented? Budget is an annual financial statement presented every year. It is not actual financial statement, it is estimated annual financial statement. Union budget or state budget, in order to incur expenditure by the government, it requires sanction or permission. Who gives the permission? Who will give the permission to spend? If you don't answer, I cannot proceed. Who will give the permission? Sorry. Who gives the permission? See, every budget has got, when it is, there are 5 steps in budget. One is, what is this? Halwa ceremony. Halwa bayalili halwa. Yavadu Tajmal halwa, Janantari Laksha, yavadu. Baden halwa, Godi halwa. Atho badam halwa. Yavadu? Yavadu? Correct halwa. And hige ಎಷ್ಟು correct answer ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಅದೇ ನೀವು answer ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿ. So halwa ceremony means it is from that day preparation for preparing the entire budget exercise. Normally 15 days to 1 month it will take. So Department of Economic Affairs, that is budget department, budget division of that Department of Economic Affairs of Ministry of Finance, they along with the finance minister halwa kattu ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಿಂತಾರೆ. Then from that day they will be grounded. They are not allowed to speak to their family member. They are not allowed to speak to anybody. That means it is a secret thing, because what are all things getting announced in the budget? If you know in advance, in stock market people can play, and financial market lot of sattabaji or something can happen. There is a reason. ಹಲ್ವಾ ತಿಂದ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮನೆ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಹಲ್ವಾ ತಿಂದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಊಟ, ಕಾಫಿ, ತಿಂಡಿ, ಸ್ಟೇ, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ದೇರ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಈಸ್ ಹಲ್ವಾ ceremony. Next step of halwa ceremony, one day before the budget, economic survey is tabled in the parliament. Especially it is in Lok Sabha. Economic survey in both the houses they present. What is economic survey? Economic survey is nothing but report card of the government previous year last budget announced and what are all the actuals, whether any deviations, what are the aftermath effect of that, what is the growth, what is the agricultural growth, what is the industrial growth, what is the service sector growth, what is the employment generated, what is the taxes collected, all these statistics that will be given in economic survey. A day before presentation of the budget, economic survey is presented in the parliament. Who prepares this economic survey? Chief Economic Advisor to the central government. He will prepare this economic survey. Okay? Are you unhappy with me? ಮೈಕಿನ ರಜೆಯ presented. Okay, so it is like a report card before your annual examination. Full year's report card is presented. Okay, so that is called economic survey. It is the indicator how our economy is proceeding. Okay, next, after economic survey, next is budget presentation. Earlier, in union government, they used to present the budget on the last working day of Feb. Last working day of Feb, that is February. You are all familiar with this short like this now, especially. Okay. Now, that has been done away with effect from 2017 budgets. There are three major changes with effect from 2017 budget. Earlier, there were two budgets presented by the union government, that is, first railway budget, next is general budget. Okay. Now, railway budget has been merged with general budget and only one budget is presented. Okay. Next, budget announcement date preponed. Okay. Why it has been preponed? Because if it is presented on the last working day of Feb, then again discussion in parliament should take place. Then when it gets enacted, it may overlap the year. Or at the end of the year it may be passed, but immediately it cannot be implemented. There will be loss of time for implementation, 1 or 2 or 3 months. Whatever schemes announced in the budget, if it is announced today, tomorrow it cannot be introduced. Okay. Now 5 guarantee schemes of Karnataka government. Whether it has been introduced immediately? No. Shakti scheme, I think that has been introduced as early as possible. Free bus. Okay. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸೌತ್ ಕೇರಳದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಬಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೋ? ಸೊ ದೆನ್ ಅದರ್ schemes, even your EV has been, just last month. So entire year is gone. See, any schemes approved in the budget, approved in the Lok Sabha, then it takes time to implement. That's why they have preponed this to February 1st. When it is there February 1st, it is easy to implement from 1st April. Next, plan and non-planned expenditure, that differentiation was there earlier, that has been also done. Okay, so this is the thing with effect from 2017 budget. Again, Halwa ceremony. Okay, Halwa, economic survey, budget presentation. When the budget is presented, who is authorized to pass budget? Who will give the budget speech? Prime Minister or Finance Minister? Who is the Finance Minister of India now? Nirmala Sitharaman. Then any one of you can also become Finance Minister tomorrow, provided you should understand all these budget terminologies properly. Okay. First you already ate halwa, next economic survey over. Now budget presentation will be done by Finance Minister in Lok Sabha. Both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha also it will be presented, but any money bill, it is the prerogative of the Lok Sabha to pass. Rajya Sabha's note is not required. Within 2 weeks of presenting the same to Rajya Sabha, either yes or no they have to tell. If tell yes also okay, if tell no also okay. Just namke vaste. Because they are not people's representatives. Who? Rajya Sabha members. They are representatives of people's representatives. Correct. Now recently there was a Rajya Sabha election. You must be aware about it. Correct. Now how it is getting elected, Rajya Sabha members. Okay. Abolition, alteration or regulation of taxes proposed in the budget. Okay. After the introduction of GST with effect from when the GST has been introduced, can anybody say?
July 1st.
Yes? From here. Gatti ಹೇಳಿ loudly. ತಪ್ಪಾದ್ರೆ ಭಾರಿ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದು ಏನು ತೊಂದರೆ. 1st July 2017 GST has been introduced. Correct now? So since the introduction of the GST, who is authorized to change tax rates, notifications, circulars in indirect taxes? Who is authorized? GST Council, not in Parliament. GST Council has the authority to make any changes in the tax rate, exemptions, deductions, change in tax rates, or any circulars, any notifications based on the decision of the GST Council. GST Council is headed by Finance Minister and Finance Ministers of representatives of all states. Okay, on majority it will be decided. Correct now? So that's why normally increase in GST, decrease in GST, all those things will not be there now. Petrol rate ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡೋದು, diesel rate ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಮಾಡೋದು, that all not, you can't see nowadays in budget. Correct now? Okay. Now in budget, but income tax rates, GST, some policy changes, all those things will be done. Then all other schemes, earmarking, expenditure for various sectors, they are all will be in budget. Okay, next. Halwa over, Finance Act over. Next. Next. See, government money, it is stored in 3 kitties. There are how many kitties with the government? 3 kitties. Which are those 3 kitties? As per Article 266, Consolidated Fund of India. Then this is Article 266(2) it comes I think. Okay, public account. Okay, no problem. You come to the earlier. Public account. Then contingency fund. There are 3 types of kitties are with the government. One is Consolidated Fund of India. Without the permission of the Parliament, consolidated Fund of India, nobody can touch. Even salaries they can't pay. Any payment is to be made, it should be from Consolidated Fund of India and it should be approved by the Lok Sabha. Then only it is possible. This year, instead of presenting the full budget, they have presented interim budget. What is the interim budget? Interim budget means it is also called vote on account. That means when government getting approached for the near term election and the short span is that normally the existing government will not present full-fledged budget. Only after the elections, when the new government is formed, full-fledged budget will be presented.
But until then, since the validity of the previous budget is only up to 31st March, after 31st March, when will be the tenure of the present government? Can anybody say? Your general knowledge is very less. Huh?
June
If
16.
I ask film something, you can tell fast. Correct no? What is the tenure of the present government? 16th June 2024. See, election is announced. Last election will be on 1st June. Counting will be on 5th June. Before 16th June, the new government will be swearing in. Then the new budget government will present the new budget. It may take April, May, June, July. That is up to 3 to 4 months. This interim budget or vote on account that will be given. Until then, these 3 to 4 months, they should have authority to spend. That is the reason interim budget is presented. Okay? Okay, next. Thank you all. They are very happy now. Okay. So, consolidated fund I told, public account I told, contingency fund I told. See, contingency fund means if there is some flood or there is earthquake or calamity, from contingency fund they can spend with the power is with the President of India. From there only it can be funded. Maximum amount is 500 crores. For which, since it is an emergency thing, you need not have to take permission from Parliament. Directly from President of India. Later on it can be ratified. Okay? That is the thing. Okay. Next. Why you are jumping? What is white paper? Color white. Have you heard about black paper? Recently, Nirmala Sitharaman has presented white paper, Shwetapatra. That is what they have done during the last 10 years. That has been Vastavikate. They have presented in the Parliament. Correct now? And against that, opposition also presented black paper. Some 3-4 points. Here some many pages were there. So, white paper is government document to showcase the policies and accomplishments, okay, of the government. That is called white paper. Okay, next. What is GDP? What is the GDP of our nation now? India, GDP of India? Approximate. How much percent? GDP growth. What is the growth rate of India now? Are we growing or not growing? We are growing at what pace? When you are riding the bike or two-wheeler or four-wheeler, what is the speed you are going? Ali 200 ಇರುತ್ತದೆ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? So when all other economies are registering negative growth, so-called advanced economies, either small rate of growth, UK, USA, Japan, Germany, so-called all advanced countries, China, India is registering a growth rate of 7+% every year. Is it good? Is it good? Your voice is choking. Whether this is good growth, 7%? Yes, why it is good? Why it is good? What is the difference between 7% is real GDP or nominal GDP? 7% is real GDP or nominal GDP? ನಮಗೆ MBA ಬೇಡ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ. 7% is real GDP. What is the difference between real GDP and nominal GDP? Nominal GDP is around 11%. The difference between nominal GDP and real GDP is nominal GDP minus inflation is real GDP. Okay? Nominal GDP minus inflation is real GDP. Okay. Then what is the inflation? What is the inflation? Increase in prices of goods and services. In a basket of there are various. How inflation is calculated, I will tell. Before that, GDP. We will come back to GDP. You want to go? GDP is, it is the sum total of all the goods and services produced in a country in a particular period. That means in a year. So that is GDP. What is the size of the economy of India? Can anybody say now? How much $1 trillion? What is the aim of our Prime Minister naming how many, what is the aim? $5 trillion economy. When? By 26-27. Okay? Somebody tell 25-26 also. In between two COVID years, we made us to go back. Okay, reverse gear. So, now our economy size is $4 trillion economy. What is the, where we stand now? Across the world. In 2014, what was our stand? 10th largest economy. Now it is 5th largest economy. Within another 2-3 years, we will be the 3rd largest economy. Then by 2047, we will be the Vishwaguru. Why it is 2047? 100 years from independence. Now we are in Amrit Kal, correct now? So, ಸಮುದ್ರ ಮಂಥನ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸಮುದ್ರ ಮಂಥನ ಆಚೆ ದೇವತೆಗಳು ಈಚೆ ರಾಕ್ಷಸ್ ಮಂಥನ ಮಾಡಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿವೆ. Now it is time for you to have Amrita. You are in a very lucky position now. Correct now? Okay. So now GDP is gross domestic product, that is sum total of all goods and services produced by a country in a particular period. That is in 1 year. That is GDP. Okay? Clear? Next inflation. So, what is the difference between nominal GDP and real GDP? Inflation. Correct now? Okay. So, what is inflation? ನೋಡಿ ಪಂಪಲ್ಲಿ ಗಾಳಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಮೇಲೆ 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 ಅಲ್ವಾ? So, inflation is general increase in the prices of goods and services over time. Okay? ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಜ್ಜ ಅಜ್ಜಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಇಂಥ ಖರ್ಚಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೇಕು? 5 ಖರ್ಚು. 5? ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಶಾಲೆ ಹೋಗುವಾಗ 5 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಭಯಂಕರ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಜೋಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಂತೆ. ಒಬ್ರು 500 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಕೊಟ್ರಂತ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಗಲ್ಲಿ ಫುಲ್ ಸಾಮಾನು ತಂದು ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಅರ್ಧ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಎಷ್ಟು 500 ರೂಪಾಯಿಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಸಿಕ್ಕುದಾಗ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಎಷ್ಟು? ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಇತ್ತು. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲಿರುವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ತರ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರೊಬ್ಬ ಹೇಳಿದಂತೆ ಮೊಮ್ಮಗ, ಆವಾಗ ನೀವಿರುವಾಗ CCTV ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. Okay. Next, when it is there is a high inflation, purchasing power will come down. ಅಲ್ವಾ? 1 kg ಅಕ್ಕಿಗೆ 30 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇದ್ದದೀಗ 50 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸಂಬಳ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಆದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ? ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಡೀಸೆಲ್ ರೇಟ್ 50-60 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇದ್ದದೀಗ 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೇಷನ್. ಓಕೆ? ಸೊ difference between real GDP and nominal GDP and real GDP is inflation. What is the inflation rate now? What is the inflation rate? It changes every month. There are 2 types of inflation. One CPI, another is WPI. What is CPI? Consumer Price Index. Consumer Price Index, you show the basket. Next. This is the basket of Consumer Price Index. Basket and basket. It is sum total. Okay. See, one is housing, that means house rent. Another is apparel, transportation. ಯಾಕೆ ವಿಮಾನ ತೋರಿಸೋದು ನಾನು ಪಾಪದವರು ಬಸ್ ರೈಲೆಲ್ಲ ತೋರಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ವಿಮಾನ ಬಿಡೋದು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಶನ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್, ಅದರ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್, ರಿಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್, medical care, food and beverages, all these things together, 8 major group of the consumer price index. Every month it will be decided based on the prices. Then CPI is calculated. Now it is 5 point some, it changes 5% or something. Okay. When inflation rate is less than the growth rate, GDP growth, then only it is good for the country. When the inflation rate is more than the GDP rate, then your original capital will erode. For example, now Pakistan, Bangladesh is okay, Pakistan, then Sri Lanka, all these countries, the problem is prices have been increased substantially, but income is same or less, and purchasing power has been reduced. Okay, this is consumer price index. Then what is wholesale price index? Wholesale price index means that is calculated for economic. It is an economic indicator. That is a wholesale or producer level, manufacturing, all these things. Okay, but for us, day to day, we are affected by consumer price index. Okay, next. What is the per capita real GDP? Real GDP of a country divided by population. What is the population of India now? 140 crores. Correct, no? So what is the GDP of our country? 4 trillion US dollars divided by population of our country. Then you will get. Okay, next. Debt to GDP ratio. What is this debt to GDP ratio? See, when the GDP of country is increasing, sometimes debt will also increase. That's why debt to GDP ratio is calculated. Normally the ideal debt to GDP ratio should be within 80. Okay, 80%. But Japan, Germany, China, US, UK, their debt to GDP ratio is more than 100. Some are 200, some are 300. But India's is just 87. So it is well within the parameter, plus here or that, it's okay. Debt to GDP ratio. Next. What is the deficit? Fiscal deficit. First let us go to fiscal deficit. What is fiscal deficit? See, it is estimated annual financial statement. What is the estimated annual financial statement? What will be the receipts and what will be the expenditure? When the expenditure exceeds the receipt, it is called fiscal deficit. Okay, it is a deficit budget. When there is a deficit budget, suppose your income is 50,000 per month, expenditure is 60,000 per month. What you will do? 10,000, how you will manage? You will go to borrow. Correct, no? Borrowings. ಧರ್ಮ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರ ಬಾರೋಯಿಂಗ್? ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರ? ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಬಾರೋವಿಂಗ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಕ್ಯಾರೀಸ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ there is a fiscal deficit, government has to resort to borrowings, either outside borrowing or domestic borrowing. Domestic borrowing is nothing but NSE, issue of government bonds, all government securities, and outside from World Bank, other countries, you can borrow. Correct? Now when you borrow, again that interest will come. When the interest payment will come, it will have cascading effect. Next budget, again your interest payment increases. You are left with minimum resources to spend for other regular things and development. Then again the fiscal deficit will increase. So in order to reduce the fiscal deficit, what you need to do, your taxes, either your taxes should be increased, your taxes should be increased, the collection should be increased. To increase the tax, your country should, economy should do well. People should earn more. Then only you can collect tax. Correct, no? So otherwise, when there is a more fiscal deficit, there will be more interest rate. There is a surge in the interest rates. When there is a surge in the interest rate, then there will be inflation also. And RBI comes with monetary policy. What is monetary policy of RBI? RBI is which bank? Central Bank of India. Which is the central bank of US? Can anybody say? Which is the central bank of US? Don't know. Fed. Fed means Federal Reserve. Okay, Federal Reserve is the central bank of US. When Fed increases the rates, उधर खांसी आएगा तो इधर सबको सर्दी होता है, बराबर ना? That is the when US economy hits, the entire global economy takes it. Correct, no? So that's why, see, what is monetary policy? Reserve Bank of India, at least once in a quarter or 4 times in a year, monetary policy committee will meet. There will be minimum 4 members in monetary policy committee, okay, including governor and others. They decide what should be the interest rate, repo. They fix repo and reverse repo. What is the repo? It is the rate at which the central bank of country lends money to commercial banks. For the last 18 months, 22 months, repo has been substantially increased by 1.8%. Now the repo is 6.5%. What is the repo? Reverse repo? Reverse repo is 3.35. This is the rate at which central bank borrows from other banks. 3.35. So see the gap between repo and reverse repo. So now when the repo increases, your housing loan rate will increase, car loan rate will increase, borrowings, these industries, personal borrowings, all these things, rate of interest will be increased by banks. So is it good for the country? But some extent, some FD rates will also increase, deposit rate. It is good for pensioners and retired people. But that will be compensated or offset by increase in inflation, rising inflation. Then automatically they are not left with their purchasing power will also come down. So inflation, repo, GDP, and your purchasing power all are interlinked. Okay? Next. What is primary deficit? See, fiscal deficit means excess of expenditure over excess of receipts. Correct? No. Here, primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So, primary deficit, fiscal deficit minus interest payment. That is the effective revenue deficit, we call also. Effective revenue, what is effective revenue? What is the revenue deficit? Revenue deficit means your expenditure, revenue receipts are lesser than the revenue expenditure. ಸಾಲ ಮಾಡಿ ತುಪ್ಪ ತಿನ್ನು. ಸಾಲ ಮಾಡಿ ತುಪ್ಪ ತಿನ್ನಬಾರ್ದು. ಸಾಲ ಮಾಡಿ ದನ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದನ ಹಾಲು ಕೊಡುತ್ತದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? So the problem is when the revenue deficit is there, so it is not good. Only small, this is okay. But there are two types of expenditure government makes. What types of expenditure? One is revenue expenditure, another is capex. What is that capex? Capital expenditure. Can you distinguish between the revenue expenditure and capex? Revenue expenditure means payment of salary, payment of interest and other schemes, general schemes, subsidies, farmers, all these things for and rural development, family welfare, education, all these things. Okay. Capex means capital expenditure. Investment in roads, investment in railway, investment in port, investment in airport, investment in those assets which generate income. Which generates income. When you invest in capex, the benefit is 2x, 3x, 4x. Why? See, if you give free money, 1,000 rupees unemployed or 2,000 rupees unemployed, he will enjoy. See the only YouTube, internet, correct now? Instead of that, you take them as an apprentice in various departments or industries, give little bit more stipend. They will be skilled, they will get experience, they will get money also. Then they are employable. Correct now? So, that is the difference between revenue and capex. And another is in capital expenditure. Suppose one road is getting constructed, national highway. Then one contractor will be there, he will be paid by the government. Contractor in turn, he will make payment to tar, jelly, cement, other contractors, subcontractors. He will pay to the laborers. See, automatically there will be ripple effect. Okay? So that is the difference between revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. So which is good? If there is a fiscal deficit which is due to capex, then it is tolerated. If it is due to shortage in revenue receipts, that is not good. That is slowly is a detrimental for the any economy. Okay? So that is the thing. Next. Don't put thank you. How much time I can take now? 5 minutes. Okay, then why you started late? What is current account deficit? Current account deficit means when imports exceed export, then it is a current account deficit. Suppose we are dealing with one country, US. If our exports are more and import is less, then we are having surplus or deficit, current account surplus. If our import is more overall from all the countries and export is less, then it is current account deficit. That is called CAD. This current account deficit, in the long run, it is not advisable. Okay. So in all these countries we became pauper because of this reason, alarming current account deficit. Okay. And during COVID times, many countries they suffered, especially countries which they used to earn, used to have their economy more of tourism. They have suffered. They suffered with current account deficit. In order to avoid current account deficit, we should be more export competitive. In order to be more export competitive, we should have infrastructure. Our popular scheme called Gati Shakti, 111 crores, that interlinking of all the infrastructure that has been announced, now it is going on. China is the manufacturing factory of the world. Their logistic cost is as low as 7%, whereas in India it is 13 to 14%. To bring down the logistic cost, so all this infrastructural development is required. Okay, next. Current account deficit ho gaya. What is GSDP? You know GDP, gross domestic product, that is of a country. GSDP means gross state domestic product. Karnataka. GSDP of Karnataka, GSDP of Maharashtra, GSDP of Uttar Pradesh. Now GSDP of Uttar Pradesh will grow now because of lot of initiative, lot of development. Ram Mandir, due to Ram Mandir, lot of developments also taking place, revenue also will increase. The state GSDP and employment, everything will increase. Next. Net borrowing ceiling, because states they cannot left right borrow. Finance Commission is there. Finance Commission is a constitutional body. They fix states cannot borrow more than 3.5% of their GSDP. Okay? Next. What is revised estimate? Revised estimate, estimate itself is not actual. Sometimes it may exceed or sometimes you may not utilize. Then again you have to make revised estimate and take permission in the Lok Sabha. Okay, next. Demographic dividend. Because of the population, young population, we are having demographic dividend. Next. What is CAGR? Compounded annual growth rate. CAGR. So normally companies, we see when we invest in stock market, CAGR is calculated. Next we have some companies CAGR, no? That is Reliance Industries 13.7, Coal India 14.4. Over a period of some years, this oil and ONGC, Hindustan Petroleum, like this CAGR, compounded annual growth rate. What is this compounding? When you invest money now for 10 years, suppose at 10%. After 1 year, 10%, it will become 10 lakhs will become 11 lakhs. Then on 11 lakhs again 10%. So that is called compounding. There is a rule called popularly Rule 15. What is this Rule 15 in SIP? That is Systematic Investment Plan. Rule 15 means 15% at 15% return. 15,000 per month. For 15 years if you invest, you will become crorepati. Okay? That is, if you invest for 30 years, 15,000 per month at 15% annual return, you will become 10 crorepati. What is your age now? 22? 21? If you start invest immediately after you get the job, 23. 24 if you start, 15,000 per month. Okay? At the age of 54, you will be 10 crore pati. Chance Allah. But you have to invest and sit. Okay, next. What is SIP? Systematic Investment Plan. What is SWP? Systematic Withdrawal Plan. Then STP, Systematic Transfer Plan. That is investment terminology. I don't want to go now. Next. What happened? NIM. What is NIM? Net interest margin. See, banks, they fix the rate based on their cost of funds plus whatever rates profit they add, that will be the rate of interest charged to customers. So NIM. Some banks, HDFC, they are giving at the lowest rate of interest because their NIM, their cost of funds is less. Okay, but profitability bank is calculated based on NIM. That is gross NPA. Next, gross NPA, net NPA. What is the gross NPA? What is NPA? Non-performing assets. If any loan is taken, if the installments are due for more than 90 days or interest payment is due for more than 90 days, then it becomes non-performing asset. Once it becomes non-performing asset, banks have to make provisioning. Okay? NPA, gross NPA minus provisioning is called net NPA. Okay? So net NPA is the real loss, but it can be collected later on from the banks. Next. Do you know what is CIBIL? What is that? Credit Investigation Bureau of India Limited. If you take credit card, if you borrow, if you don't pay on time, your CIBIL score will go for toss. Lifetime it is not possible to borrow. Okay? You should be very careful in maintaining your CIBIL scores. Next. Anything else left? Next. See, budget. Okay. See, government receipts, budget. There are two types: revenue receipt, capital receipt. Revenue receipt of two types: tax revenue and non-tax revenue. In tax revenue, direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax means income tax. And corporate tax. There are two types for personal income tax and corporate tax. Indirect tax means it comes excise duty, customs duty, and GST. Then non-tax revenue. Tax revenue, this is the thing. Non-tax means interest receipts. If you have given loan for other countries, then interest. Then profit and dividend. Dividend from public sector undertaking owned by the government. Public sector banks, like that. Fees and fines. External grants. Okay. All these things are non-tax revenue. Capital receipt, recovery of loans, disinvestment, borrowings, provident fund, all these are capital receipts. Next. See, this is the pattern, how the rupee comes, how the rupee goes. See now, interest payment, that is that is around 20%. This goes for interest payment already. More and more interest rises, amount available for other expenditure will be reduced. Developmental expenditure. Next. We will not cover all these things. Budget. I think today it is done because Madam has already signaled 5 minutes. So I have taken 5 minutes. So I think some terminologies I have explained, but still we are halfway mark. So whatever it may be, I think you have heard at least some terminologies. So you are all in the beginning of your career. Journey of 1,000 miles always starts from the first step. In order to step up in life, the first step is to step in. Okay, not step out. Wish you all the best for your 2 years
this management education journey. All the best.